I'm Jan Ozer from Streaming Media Magazine. I'm here today with Mattia Fogliacco from Sisvel, who recently came out this week with a patent pool on AV1 and VP9. And Mattia graciously agreed to answer some questions that we have and to do it on Skype so we can post this in the video that you're watching now. So Mattia, again, thanks for joining us. Where are you right now?
Thank you, Jan, first of all, for hosting and giving us this opportunity to present our new program and our new video coding licensing platform. I find myself in one of Sisvel offices at our premises in Italy. Sisvel is a company that has various offices around the globe, but today I'm in Italy.
Okay, very good. So let's jump right in. I mean, I had never heard of Sisvel before the announcement, before you contacted me on Wednesday. Tell me about the company and how it's special in the patent pool area.
Sure. Well, Sisvel is a company that has a long history in the licensing industry. We are born in 1982, so we are operating since more than 35 years, which makes us a very, very long-standing player in the licensing industry. We have been born out of a spin-off of a practicing entity, Indesit, actually a white good manufacturer in Italy. We were basically created as a joint venture of several consumer electronic manufacturers in Italy with the intention to license intellectual property, and specifically patents on video technologies that were at that time being developed by several of these companies, and in particular Indesit. And because these companies were pushed out of the market by the advent of Korean manufacturers, Japanese manufacturers selling in the European market, we, as a company, endeavored to license those technologies that were created with a lot of investments in research and development. And this is what we did for the first years, moving to be a patent pool administrator later in the 90s and growing this business ever since.
Okay. What other patent pools do you represent that we might be familiar with?
Sure. Well, over the years, Sisvel has been really representing a number of patent pools or joint license agreements. So really licensing programs that aggregate patents from several patent owners. And today we run joint licensing programs or patent pools in the mobile communication area with our mobile communication program, in the Wi-Fi area with our Wi-Fi joint license agreement. We also administer patent pools in the DVB area with our DVB-T2 and DVB-S2X program, and we are active in several other instances and in several other markets. But by wide and large, our most successful licensing programs to date has been a joint license agreement in the MPEG audio technology that has been seeing Sisvel engaged for nearly 20 years of licensing and representing Philips, today what is called Orange and back then was called France Telecom, and a couple of other companies that were getting together to basically offer under one-stop shop solution their patent rights available for license.
Okay, so in the current pool, the VP9, I guess the newly proposed pools, which companies' technologies are represented in those pools?
Sure. Well, in the video coding licensing platform that we launched this week, we have several patent owners. We represent JVC Kenwood, we represent NTT, we represent Orange, we represent Philips, and we represent Toshiba.
Okay.
But as you know, many patent pools work under a system called patent calls. And basically at the inception of the pools, typically what happens is that we invite every patent owner that has patents and that is willing to license and able to license those patents widely to the market to join this effort to create a truly efficient solution to clear all the transactions needed for implementers to dispose of all the IP rights that they need in order to implement rightfully those technologies.
Okay. So you spoke with more companies than the companies that you identified?
Sure. Well, this has been, as always, a patent pool facilitation, a fairly lengthy process. We have been working with several companies that are today those members of the pool that have been supporting the launch and have been launching as well. We are already in touch with a number of companies. We were before the launch and we continuously engage with those. And we are already talking to new patent owners immediately after the launch of our patent call. So we are going to continuously growing the number of patent owners in this effort, and we are going to be focused in the next few months to really try to explain to the market how important it is that all those patent owners that dispose on assets that should be licensed under our video coding licensing platform would join our effort.
Okay. So looking at the mechanics of the program, which products are covered currently? What types of products?
Sure. Well, we are going to basically license all those products that practice VP9 with one of the two pools and AV1 with the other pool that make part of our video coding licensing platform. So all those products that basically practice those technologies will be really addressed by our licensing programs.
Okay, well, you've got the first two product categories covered are, I guess, consumer products with display and consumer products without display. So that seems phones, TVs on one hand, and OTT boxes and STBs on the other. That's what I read in your initial program. Do you see yourself going beyond that?
Well, Jan, we have been deciding to explicitly not license content, so we are not going beyond that in that sense, and we are still having the rights to license also software products. So this is part definitely of the scope of the rights that we have. We did not address specifically software products in the first release of our licensing programs, but these are covered by the rights that we have been receiving by the patent owners.
Okay, so you could at some point come out with a program that says we are going to license software-only implementations.
That is correct.
Okay, and I was curious. Well, why don't you cover real quickly the per unit costs? And I know there's in compliance and non in compliance, but also how the cap works.
Yeah, sure. That is correct. And all the information that you're asking me is very much publicly available on our website. So I invite everybody to just visit our website and see the detail, given that there is a relatively elaborated system. I don't think that we should really spell it out entirely here, but it is all publicly available. But indeed, you're right that we are licensing these patents also under a so-called committed volume system that basically is a system that offers a lot of efficiencies to clear transactions for all those companies that are interested in committing for a period of 1 year, the following year, to prepay the volumes that they foresee to license. This is a system that we consider particularly efficient because in every licensing transaction that happens, there is quite a bit of activity between the licensing administrator and the potential licensees that is ongoing. And of course, we have an interest in generating a return as early as possible for our patent owner. And so we think that it is only reasonable to offer a discounted rate if companies elect to go for this committed volume solution. So this is what we have been really announcing. It's not a cap, but it is a system that as a cap, I think really achieves efficiencies in the market. It also addresses some of the drawbacks that cap systems may have. And so we are very happy to launch the program with this system, which we think is going to be definitely well received by many players in the market, offering a simpler solution, if you want, enabling predictability in the level of volumes covered by each of the licenses, also for the patent owners.
Okay, and I guess I'm curious what happens. I tell you I anticipate shipping 10 million units in 2020, but I end up shipping 30. Is that corrected in the next year, or is that just forgotten about, or you just how does that work?
Well, the system has, of course, checks and balances in place. Really, the system of committed volumes foresees corrections for overage. So products that are actually sold above the level that has been committed with the pool. At the same time, the fact of accessing the discounted rate is only possible for companies that actually fully commit the volumes. So should a company end up not selling those volumes that have been committed, there would be no way for that company to get back the difference between the level actually sold and the committed volume. Of course, given that this is a system that is committing volumes only for a period of 1 year, it is very easily possible for the company to correct the forecasts for the year after and to be, of course, in line with the volumes that they are actually selling. So it's a system that allows companies to have full control. And as we know, in the consumer electronic industry, at least for a horizon of 1 year, there is a very good level of predictability about the volumes sold.
Okay. So looking at the IP rights that you represent, what type of due diligence do you do before you launch a pool that shows that these patents are essential to, in this case, VP9 and AV1 usage?
Yeah, and of course, we are very careful in selecting only those patents that we consider are deserving to be part of our licensing programs. And we do this in 2 different ways. First of all, we have a technical team in Sisvel that is experienced in this domain, in the video coding domain. Our team is engaged in a first validation of the fact of having and covering only patents with our pool that actually are necessarily implemented either by VP9 on one hand for one pool and AV1 for the other pool. And so we have a first good understanding of the fact that a patent is either necessary or not to implement those technologies. Only those that actually are found to be necessary can qualify. But in order to be absolutely sure, we also go through a process that is a process of third-party evaluations. There are evaluators that basically engage in the review of what would be called essentiality in the context of a pool that is licensing standard essential patents, so patents that have been basically contributed in the process of developing a standard in the context of a standard development organization. In this case, for VP9 as well as for AV1, we do not have a standard development organization engaged, and so there is no database available of standard essential patents. In this case, it is our team and then the third-party evaluators that check the actual implementation, the necessity to implement these patents by VP9 and AV1 practicing products. This is the process that we go through.
Okay. I mean, I guess a lot of people are surprised about the patent pool because, Google, you spent a lot of money on buying Onto, and then they spent a lot of money developing VP8, VP9. They licensed some rights from MPEG-LA for VP9. AV1 is famously put together with IP from, Microsoft, Mozilla, Google, Netflix, Intel. So, it seems you would guess that the most essential patents to the 2 video codecs were contributed by the companies who were in the Alliance for Open Media. So it seems like the most important IP is what they have. So what does that say about your IP, or how do you perceive, that dynamic?
Sure. Yeah, and let me take a little bit of an historical perspective here to explain my position. Video codecs have been developed over decades with tremendous investments by a lot of innovators in terms of resources, time, efforts. And this has been really a technology or different generations of technology that have been enabling entire industries to thrive, to generate trillions of revenues. So extremely important technologies, really, for the society, for the industry. Now, all those investments have been generating an architecture and tools that have been pretty much improved over time, but that are also, in the case of VP9, as well as in the case of AV1, still implemented by wide and large. Of course, in these 2 technologies, there are additional tools that have been used. And of course, I believe, both for the case of VP9 as well as for the case of AV1, there may be patent position held by the contributors to those technologies, for sure. But this doesn't change the fact that both VP9 as well as AV1 are really based on architectures and tools that are the most advanced available and that have been building on really decades of efforts by other innovators as well. And I don't think that it is simply possible not to use those tools or to move away from that architecture. So against this background, it is logical to then come to think, and also for us it was possible to validate the fact that there are strong patent portfolios out there covering those two technologies that are not held by the direct contributors to VP9 or the Alliance for Open Media. So, this has been probably something that should have been expected because, it was impossible also for the WebM project as well as for the Alliance for Open Media to depart fully from those architectures and those tools that have been developed with so many efforts and that proved to be so effective and are used widely by other video coding technologies that are of the current generation.
Okay. And when will you post a list of the patents included in the pool so that people can start their vetting process?
Sure. Well, as I explained before, we have a process of third-party evaluators. So third-party evaluators right now are engaged in reviewing the entire portfolios of the current members of the pool. They could already validate the fact that those members have patents that are necessary to implement and practice VP9 on one end and AV1 on the other end, but they are currently going through the entire number of patents that have been submitted to those evaluators. This will take still a while. I believe that in the next 3 months we should be able to complete this process, and so we should be able to make available a patent list on our website. But we are, of course, very thorough in the approach that we take, and we only want to publish patents that we truly believe are indeed necessary to practice those two technology. And so we are going to do that in due course whenever these feedback from third-party evaluators will be received.
Okay. Have you reached out to Google or other members of the Alliance?
Yeah, of course, we have been reaching out to those companies that we were already in contact with and that we have standing relationships with. We do have contacts with Google that precede these specific efforts. So we have been reaching out to Google and we have been talking to them, informing them about the launch of this initiative. We didn't have preceding contacts with the Alliance for Open Media. And so in that case, we simply do not have an existing channel open with them that we could use. But of course, we are going to try to engage with them very early. It is important for us to develop a positive, amicable discussion with all the actors engaged in this ecosystem. We are really very much engaged in a process of familiarization with our program for the market. We also wait to great lengths to try to launch this program, explaining as much as possible our position, what we are trying to achieve. We created a dedicated website and even an educational video in that website that really speaks about the history of video codecs, why it is important to reward innovation. We make really the point that innovation is hard, innovation is expensive, innovation requires people, and innovation is the future. And so since more than 35 years, really Sisvel stands for trying to generate a reward for those innovators that have been contributing substantially to the benefit of the society with new technologies. And this is what we are trying to achieve also in this case. Now that we became aware of the fact that there are several portfolios of patents, and so several patented technologies that have been really, that are currently practiced by VP9 and AV1, we just want to create a simple solution, an effective solution to transact in the market, to clear those transactions that will be necessary for people to take a license without generating any friction. Patent pools are very pro-competitive. They are a good system to reduce the level of conflict that may be generated in markets. And so I'm really strongly believing that we are going to be soon able to engage in good discussions with the entire ecosystem.
Okay. I mean, I think the H.264 pool process was very positively perceived, but I think HEVC has given patent pools a bad name. I mean, what's as a potential licensee, what's your level of assurance that we're not going to see AV1 patent pools springing up from every one of the HEVC pools as well as other pools. I mean, that's got to be a concern for everybody who may be subject to your pool today.
Yeah, I am aware of the fact that indeed in the field of video coding, specifically for HEVC, there has been some animosity. And what I want to say is that the existence of several pools is always much better than the existence only of bilateral licensing solutions, because otherwise the complexity, the number of transactions to clear simply skyrockets. So I think that in any event you maintain, with the presence of pools, a very efficient way to transact. Now, there has been a lot of polarization, I would say, in the field of video coding and specifically also in the field of HEVC. About what is right, what are best practices in this field, and of course, different pool administrators had different practices and implemented different styles of licensing, let's put it like this. And what I think is that this initiative that we are launching is an initiative that shouldn't be benchmarked with the rest of the market, the rest of the patent pools, and also the rest of the patent pools in the video coding space, because it tries to achieve something that is somewhat different, that it is the opportunity for those innovators that have been contributing technologies to also VP9 and AV1 without being active in the development of those technologies, and as well without potentially being even implementing those technologies, to still have the opportunity to offer to the market an efficient way to obtain licenses from them. We represent a good group of patent owners that have been developing technologies and patented technologies as important contributors to the video coding domain, and we think that those licenses should be available in an easy, uncomplicated way to the implementers that will practice VP9 and AV1, and this is what we are trying to achieve.
Okay, so it's better to sign one contract than be sued by five or six different companies, I guess.
Well, I think that is always the case. I think that enforcement at times in the markets for technology and licensing is necessary, in particular to maintain a level playing field. There are good citizens that once they realize the fact that their products are actually practicing, given patents are taking a license, and there are companies that have a different attitude, and we are very much committed in establishing or striving to establish a level playing field. And so we think that enforcement may be needed at times. At the same token, I would like to stress the fact that I truly hope that with the level of engagement that we are trying to demonstrate with this program, with the level of proactivity, and with the engagement that soon we will start with the entire ecosystem, that will not be necessary. That our licensing program will be adopted by many implementers very quickly. We are very transparent about what we do. We are trying to inform the market as much as possible. We have a strong technical team that engages in technical discussions with potential implementers, making them acquainted on why we believe they make use of those patents that we license. So I think that there are all the right elements that should allow us really to have a positive discussion with the ecosystem and to generate rewards for the innovators that participate to our licensing program without generating friction, without generating conflict in the market.
Okay, wrapping up, what do we expect to see in the next 3 to 6 months? When do you, I guess more IP owners coming to you to join the pool, and when do you start offering licenses?
Sure. So definitely the next months will be marked by an intense activity by Sisvel trying to reach out to all those players that we believe may have patent portfolios in this space, trying to attract them to our initiative, trying to make them part of our video coding licensing platform. At the same time, when we are going to have finalized the third-party evaluation process for our current members, we are going to start publishing the patent list, as we said before, on our website, and we are going to start our licensing activities. Every pool is growing over time and has patent owners that enter into the pool, at times patent owners that are leaving the pool. That is a very sort of organic effort, the one of patent pooling. And so definitely we are going to consider the moment to start approaching the market when we are going to have a good picture of our current patent owners, trying to continuously growing the number of patent owners in our video calling licensing platform.
Okay. And will you be at NAB, or will representatives of your companies be at NAB?
You're going to have a presence at NAB, yes, indeed.
Okay. Your URL is sisvel. They can find it. We'll have a link on the article. Anyway, Mattia, I know you must be very busy. I appreciate you taking time today as well as all during the week to answer our questions, and good luck with the program. And I believe, like I said, I think the MPEG LA H.264 program was very successful and very, very good for the industry. I think things got really muddied up with HEVC, but hopefully you guys can succeed and present a pool that is relatively consolidated and offers a one-stop shop for anybody who wants to use VP9 and AV1. But we'll see. I'm guessing that the Alliance will have a different view of all this than you and I. So
it is possible. It is possible. Yeah. I have every confidence that this is going to be a good program for the industry, and I have every confidence that my team, Sisvel, will do every effort possible in order to get there. So definitely the industry can already rely on our commitment to get there, to have a very good effort that will be very positive for the industry. If we are going to be proven wrong, we'll see, but I really am hopeful for that.
Okay, well, very good. Listen, thanks again for your time, and I'm sure we'll be talking.
Thank you, Jan. Thank you for hosting. Bye.